All right, that's going to be a 79 Camaro body work. Basically, the back shell and the doors. I don't think I'm doing the trunk because it's got too much rust on the back, so I'd like to just get a new trunk lid. All the rest of it's not rotten. This windshield's just laying in here, so when I'm ready to mess with this and paint it, I'm not going to do too much work down in here. Just buff it and prime it. Windshield just lift right out. It's not even stuck anymore. So I don't know what's going on here. I don't know what this was, the old California water base, and I don't know if somebody came back through here and primed it, but whatever's going on made the whole thing spider crack. And I see another layer under there. So my goal is to take these layers off. Look at how bad that is. I don't know if that's bondo or some sort of epoxy primer or whatever painted on top of the water-based California paint. Look at that door. So, got some choices. Sanding, buffing, not grinding, wire wheeling. Somebody got crazy here and then never primed it. So, I bought the Jacobs paint remover, and I'm going to try to, no paint. I'm going to try to take this off, especially these doors. Whatever layers come off, then we'll wire wheel it, and then we got the epoxy primer to go on there for the bare metal, and try to get this to you know, paintable. Put a cheap coat of gloss black on here just to cover up the epoxy. All right, so I'm going to get out the Jacobs and paint that on there, and let's see if that will. It's literally 90 degrees out here right now, so I don't know if it's just going to evaporate off, whether I got to put plastic on it. I want to get out the can, we'll see. All right, I've decided to wire wheel the rough stuff off real quick. It's only taking a second. As soon as you do, you realize, I don't know if you can see me, but got safety glasses, got a little mask, got some gloves, got my shirt tucked in, because the wire will grab your shirt, it'll run up on your stomach. A lot of lessons learned, just kind of safety talk. But I'm trying to buff some of this off, so when I put that paint stuff on there, that it'll not just get trapped on this top surface, that it'll be doing what I want to do, which is remove this stuff, because look at that, how that's caked on there. So I'd like to get that off, so the primer sealer will be on the metal, and buff that stuff off. So it's only taking a few minutes to do that whole side of the hood. Basically, this thing will throw those little metal wires as it's going. They'll stick in your shirt, in your skin. So you're basically just taking all this off what you can with the thing running in, and I'll take a picture of it real quick, and then we'll put the chemical on, see how, try to get the party started. All right, unpleasant so far. 10-15 minutes, knock off all the tops off. This is the two stuff. I got this for free, had that Jasco. I saw a few reviews on YouTube. This says it works the best. I'm going to read the instructions. Got the wire wheel, took this off. So I don't know what went on, but this is one of those things, once you start this, you're going to have to get to a stopping point, either primer, because you don't want it to rust like this, or like this, these spots. Or they just got in here 5 minutes, we're lazy. Literally worked 5 minutes and then just quit because it was too hard. So ain't no quitting. You got to follow through. At minimum, get paint back on here. So, and even if you give up, you got to really prime these spots that get metal. Prime them and really paint them, because what happens, you squirt a little primer on here. Primer's porous. That's what lets the stuff stick. So, all right, we're gonna read the instructions and I'll report back on how it's going. All right, another thing I read is to put plastic on it to get that trapped in there. Now it looks like it's taking off this black surface paint really quick already. It's already picking up into the brush. So you can see that's just smushing away already just after a few minutes. But this gray stuff underneath, primer, sealer, epoxy, whatever they got on there, that's some pretty good stuff. So I'm covering it with the black plastic. Gonna let it sit for 15 minutes or so, maybe even longer. I don't really care, I got other stuff to do, so just trying to work on the roof, and we'll move to the sides. All right, I'm struggling with the plastic because it's windy today. Plastic won't stay on where I want it to. I don't know how I'm gonna get the sides to work. I guess I'll just gel it on and try to really let it do its thing. And if that don't work, I'm gonna be doing it the old-fashioned way, which just is a freaking wire wheel. So, oh, there went the board, slid off the top. All right, fun times. Gonna let that sit 15 minutes or so. Been way over 15 minutes. I need to find a plastic scraper, and let's check under that, see what's going on. All right, this is classic for how this goes. The plastic scraper don't work. The metal scraper don't work. The only thing that's working is the razor blade. And yes, where I really thicked it on, it's taking it clear down to the metal. This is probably the factory paint and primer from California, IA. And then they put this primer goo, made a mess out of it. Made a mess out of the paint. So anyway, it's taking some down to the metal itself. So what I really don't want to get is water on this. I don't want to wash this off. I want to buff it off. I want to use acetone to get it off. I don't want to put water on my metal or else it'll start rusting immediately. This is Texas. It's going to be rusted tomorrow morning. So I'm at a problem because I'm using my hand and glove, and I've had those razor blades fold up and get on my fingers because they'll catch a spot and just fold up and fold in your fingers. So I need to go buy a couple scraper holders and some razor blades. I only got like 2 razor blades left, and it's not working very good. It ain't 15 minutes, but you know, there's no way they would take this off of real paint. It would just sit on top like this, because that's basically all it's doing, is sitting on top. But where I put it super thick, it is turning it to a goo, not a goo, but making it rubbery enough to get it off. So I got to keep moving forward. I'm going to take a break. I'm going to go get razor blades and a scraper holder. It's going to be $20, $30. I'm sure I need something else too. Keep painting more of that on there. Try to get this off the top. My goal for today, since I'm having so much problem, is to get this off the top. I would definitely like to hit this off. I'd like to get all this off, but I don't think that's going to work or get it off. It's going to be slow. What I've decided to do is, while I go to the store, I'm going to paint a coat of that stuff on here and see what it does while I'm gone. I'm going to be gone like 30 minutes to an hour. So I don't know if it's going to dry, stay jelly like this, but I'm going to paint a thick coat on all this and just walk away from it. Not try to cover it. Just let it sit here and work. See how if that does any better. Alright, this is 3 hours worth of work. It's hit and miss. Whatever the madman did before me is how it comes off. Some of it's easy, some of it's hard. Basically, I'm just taking this scraper and scraping off all this sticky stuff, and some places it comes off easy. Well, none of it comes off easy. That top layer comes off, and so I am sick of it, and basically I should have stuck with my business and not started with the doors, because now I got too much. So basically this quarter and the hood, I should have just done the hood, but you get impatient and want to start painting the whole thing. Not recommended. So basically all this stuff is still rock hard. I'm going to paint this on a thick second coat over all this stuff I want to try to get off better. This must be bondo or something, because it just doesn't want to come off. So I'm not sure what's the factory paint. I think some of this layer right here is the factory California paint, but it's just whatever the person did, how good they took it off, and the mess they had before. So basically this is tough business, but alright, basically you have several problems with this car. One, this car is only worth X amount of money. It's not worth $10,000. It's a $5,500 car. I paid $2,000. I paid $17,000 plus tax. So now I got to get this to where the next person would be willing to buy it, and it's got to look better. So then I could get like $4,800, but it is what it is. I got to get some paint on it. I can't go pay somebody $2,000, $3,000, $4,000, $5,000, because now you got 7 in a car that's not even running. This car doesn't even run, doesn't have an interior yet. It's just not worth it. So you have to put in the time yourself. That's the next problem. You don't have enough patience. This already 3 hours. Look at how hard it is. Most people would just give up already and go inside and cry. But I can't do that. I got to just keep moving forward. That's why I didn't really want to mess with the trunk. So the sticker came off pretty easy with that stuff. That thing melted the sticker. So I won't paint another coat inside and just go inside in the AC for an hour. Just chillax, watch some TV, let this stuff work again. And then I'll scrape another layer off. And that'll be 4 hours into it. 4 hours worth of work. Right now, 3 hours this side. This side is pretty good at this top section, but the lower level, there's a dent there, but I like to go ahead and just get that going. That, clear down to the metal, but look at what a mess that is. 3 hours. So I need to get that another coat on all this thick. Try to melt that stuff off. This corner, these front corners, both sides, just not enough of that stuff on there to get this stuff off. So it just doesn't want to come off. And you see how hard it is, even with a razor blade. So none of it's been easy. So I'm gonna slap another coat in there and go hang out for a little bit. All right, another slop and mop coat. Tried to put it everywhere where it was still black. Didn't really go after that bondo spot. Probably should have put extra coat on this side. Hopefully that'll release some of that stuff. Painted the door pretty good. Probably gonna have to redo the door again. I want to go inside a few minutes, but I like for that to react and soak in. Too much work. All right, this is a day's worth of work. Looks horrible. Don't even look any better than it did, but I'm quitting for the day. It's about 4 o'clock. I've probably put about 5 hours in it. It just horrible. So either I'm gonna have to get the sander after it, or the wire wheel, combination of everything. This is got some bondo spots. It has all of that stuff just come off. Just looks horrible. So look at how bad that still looks. Got to get that off. I don't know if you can even see that. I can't see it. All right. That's why we primed it, because that's Texas. Can't leave stuff outside. Dirt's dry. Anything surface. Tons of water all over it. So it's gonna be a few minutes before things dry up already. Some of the stuff is drying. Ooh, interesting. The water has activated that stuff overnight and turned that to goo all by itself. So look at that. It's coming off. It's not connected. So I guess I just never messed with it or washed it off. So that stuff may come off, even this, but where this got soaked and wet, interesting why the water would activate that and make that come off easier. I did most of that. Let's look at this. Yeah, look at that. It's like it kept activating. Okay, so maybe that'll help get some of that off. I'm going to get the wire wheel out and start working spots like that. And then we will try to sand. So just working it. I could start sanding that or wire wheeling it while it's wet. It won't hurt. All right, this is just went too long, left it too long. I don't know why they let this thing go this far, but it's a slow process. You don't want to get too hot, so you don't want to work one spot. That's kind of what I'm doing here, but don't do that. Basically, I'm just taking this grinding wheel and working all that rust off. I don't have a sandblaster. There would just be one more pain in the butt to be sandblasting and getting the material and then the air compressor and sand, blah blah blah. So basically I'm just wire wheeling it all off. Basically the putty filler paint, I'm trying not to be too aggressive where it's the original metal, so I'm gonna have to get all that off now because it's got too many transitions. So I might get out the sander, do 220 or something. So that's why I didn't want to keep going on the doors, because this is a lot of work. This is 15-20 minutes. So basically the roof, try to do roof as much as I can. If I get tired, I'll just paint it and leave this bottom for the next time. So got a long ways to go on this roof. All right, that was over an hour and I am deaf. So using this grinder, I don't have any earplugs out here. That's a mistake. So I think I'm going to take a break, go get my earplugs. That's looking pretty good. If I would sand that, that would be primable. I mean, is it perfect? No. Is the car ever going to be perfect? No. Some old car nobody cared about, going to have a second life for some kid or somebody. Be as happy as can be driving this around, but got to sand that now with like some 220, 180, 220 probably. And you're never going to get all this out. You'll just have to build that back up with paint. So basically you're going to prime it, then you're going to sand it, you're going to prime it again, primer sealer, sand it, prime it with some regular primer, sand it again, paint it, sand that out. It'll be perfect. Those will fill up with just paint. Okay, well, I'm going to take a break because I can't hear, and then I'm going to come back. It's already almost 10 o'clock. So, hour plus to sand that off. I feel like I should have just did that yesterday instead of wasting time with the paint remover. But anyway, my goal is to do the hood and the 2/4 and paint it, but I think that's just getting way aggressive. If it took an hour and a half each side, that's 3 sides, and then trying to paint it, whew, I'd make for a long day. If I was smart, I'd finish the top, prime it, and call it a day. All right, this is sanded with 220. That's looking pretty good. I think that's some of the factory stuff that's still on there, and I've been working that with 220. I might work it a little better, but the rust is pretty bad. So what I'm going to do is primer sealer this and maybe come back, because you'll be able to see some of these spots, put a little bondo on top in this area. But every time I hit this with the 220 in these rusty spots, the rust keeps coming off. So I'm going to hit it one more time when I'm before I'm ready to paint it. But I'm going to move on to the wire wheel and attack one of these sides. Hopefully I can move this thing and get a little shade, and probably just do this top portion. Come back and work the bottoms later, but I'm going to see what I can do about wire wheeling this. I don't know if there's bondo. The other side's probably a little better, so maybe I'll wire wheel the other side first. Alright, this looks like every 79 Camaro you've ever seen with primer on it. Looks just like that. Looks horrible. So I got to sand this with 220. This was all bondo through here. It took a long time to buff that off with the wire wheel. Got this side. This side's got a dent in it, but I'm going to just sand this, go ahead and primer sealer it, and call it a day. It's already 11. So 2 hours. If I was here 8:30, 9:30, 2.5 hours to buff this amount with a wire wheel to take it down. So now I need to sand it, and that'll be a good stopping point. All right, 3 hours. 9:30, 10:30, it's 11:30. So it took me 3 hours to buff all this off and sand it with 220. That's good as I want to do it. There's still the factory stuff on here. Got some rust. Got one pinhole. That's pretty good for a car this old. So I'm going to go ahead and primer sealer this after lunch. I'm going to go lunch, take a break, recoup, and then I'll come back, set up my T-Rex primer sealer, and squirt this hood in the quarter. And then it's going to be a lot more work from there. All right, that makes a big difference. Just getting some primer sealer on there. Gonna let that cure. Move on to the rest. Not too bad. Just took some acetone, pulled the tape off, took the primer off the windows and the chrome, and so you could see getting some real primer on there. Let that dry and cure instead of picking at it. But that's just coat number one. That's direct to metal epoxy primer. This was came out like super glue because it's been old out in the heat. That's direct to metal primer sealer, black. So I got to keep going with that with the doors, but man, it's 100 degrees out here today.